Hey guys, Luke here from Spotlight on Spurs. Hopefully, it's a welcome back to some of you. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be watching from. Spurs. Just a little bit of a late night, relaxed, just one-to-one stream, guys. Just thought that there's quite a few little bits and pieces that have been coming through over the last few days. Obviously, nothing of huge news, but there was a few bits that came through, as I said, over the last couple of days from Heung-Min Son's future. You've got the links to El Canoes. We've got Mikey Moore's loan and potential new contract as well. So I thought I'd just pop on and just have a quick chat just about all things Spurs, really. As I said, there's been some reports coming out about Bilal El Canoes, who in some ways tore Spurs a new one at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, particularly when we played Leicester this year. Relegation release clause of just over 20 million, and no one's triggered that as of yet. Some are arguing maybe there's a reason behind that. Maybe he's not good enough to play for Tottenham Hotspur. I think he's a decent player for sure. Bit on the cheap side, which is a absolute Spurs signing for sure. But it's a bit of a tough one. Do I think he'll be a good player? I think he's got very, very good potential, but we need to start signing some first team immediate players right now. They need to come in and improve the 11 that we currently have. And I'm not sure whether you could say if he comes in, he immediately proves that 11. So that would be an interesting one. As I say, it's a very cheap deal in terms of 20 million nowadays for a player that's played in the Premier League. The rumour is that there are a few Premier League clubs interested, but as I said, the fact that it's only 20 million and nobody's triggered, maybe there's a reason for that. But apparently he's rumoured to be an option that Spurs are monitoring, as we seem to do quite regularly. Monitoring FC. Zabani links, which is a very, very strange one. I'm not sure how people feel about this, but Zabani, 70 million. Apparently Spurs are willing to go to that. Again, just a weird one. Unless Romero's going, like what sort of reasoning would Spurs want to splash out £70 million on a centre half when you've got, as I said, Romero's there, Van der Ven's there. You've got Danzo, who pretty much everyone in the fan base believes is a good enough backup. You've got Vuskovic, obviously, who's coming through as well. Dragusin is a player that's going to eventually come back into the fold after his injury. So it is a bit of a weird one why we would decide to go for him. But the rumor is that he's intent on PSG anyway. But Spurs are willing to offer that 70 million, and if that's the case, then that must mean that 70 million is there. And I think, again, going over to the Morgan Gibbs-White situation ever so quickly, I think that's where the fans' frustration is, on the basis that if we've got the money there for him, surely we've got the money there for another position or another player. So if we're willing to go 70 on Zabani and 60 on Morgan Gibbs-White, that 130 million is surely still there and available for us to go to for other players, basically. But tonight, the reports have come out about Van Hecker from Brighton. And the rumour is that he wants to leave, and he wants to play in the Champions League. So that could be an alternative option. I think he's played left centre back for Brighton. So I think that could end up being the option that we kind of go down, whether he wants to be guaranteed first team football. You could potentially put Van der Ven at left back, covering there. That would be an interesting one to see how it goes. I think Van Hecker's an underrated centre half. I think he is pretty decent. And as I said, I do think that he should be progressing. As I said, it's a real tough one for Spurs at this moment in time, because can you go out and get yourself a better centre half than what we've got? I think that's Van der Ven and Romero playing at their best. That's difficult. However, that's the kind of situation that you're in. You need to try and progress and get in better players. You can't keep buying squad options. So I like Van Hecker a lot. I think he's a decent, as I said, I think he's a very decent player. And I think he would bolster the squad. Does he come in and start immediately? Probably not. But for that position, is that exactly what we need right now? Are we looking to upgrade it immediately, or are we just looking for some sort of competition, which I think he definitely brings? Basuma been linked again to Saudi. Ben Jacobs has reported that he believes that, that Basuma could potentially be an option there, which again I think is quite an interesting one. I think he could end up being an absolute superstar out there. It's just weird how that just hasn't quite worked out for Basuma at Spurs. Like very, very strange. He's such a good player. Like if we was to get the midfielder that was at Brighton, we were getting an absolute top player, and then it just never really worked out. And obviously you have the old, was it Ange and etc., but it didn't work out under Conte. So I don't really buy into the whole it's solely on the manager and the tactics, and he was played in the wrong positions, and that may be a contribution to it. Of course it will do. Of course it will be. But as I say, just it didn't work under Conte. It's not worked under Ange. Is Frank going to be the guy to get the best out of him? I'm not so sure. I think the problem Spurs have at this moment in time is that we have so many players that if they play at their absolute peak of their powers, they are very, very good players. However, there's just no consistency. There's no consistency in the team. There's so many players that you've got Basuma, Bentancur, you've got Udogie, you've got Richarlison, you've got, some would argue Johnson has been pretty consistent with the goal scoring, but there just doesn't ever seem to be a game, like 5, 6, 7 games where these players are playing consistently well. You could even argue Maddison falls into that category. Kulusevski, probably not so much in terms of game to game. However, has Kulusevski ever had a full season at Spurs where he's been very, very consistent? And I don't think he has. I think he has very good months, but then he goes off the boil for a few months. And he is part of the problem, is the consistency. Availability has obviously been a big problem. And is that now going to continue to be a problem with the news of Udogie? He's come out and dismissed the fact that it's not long term, but is it something that he just seems to continually pick up injuries, which is so frustrating. It must be so frustrating as a player. As I said, again, come down to inconsistent. Sometimes last season he just looked like he was so poor, and then he comes out and plays really well. And most players will look back at that Europa League kind of the last bit of the run. And so many of them just stepped up. And it's so frustrating as a fan base when you know that these players have capabilities of reaching very, very high levels and they just don't get there for whatever reason. Big up, Terry. Cheers for popping by, mate. Bit of a late one. Just a bit of a chilled one, just going over some news. As I said, you've got news on Udogie, Basuma, Van Hecker, Zabani. Also got a little bit of news on Isaac, which we'll go over a little bit later as well. Nothing to do with Spurs, to be fair, but just find it really, really interesting. Imagine Spurs were able to go and sign a player like Isaac. Just incredible player. And big up in the building to Paul. Big up. Thank you for popping by this evening if you're in the UK. Speaking of centre halves, which we was talking about just now, There's been quite a few quotes. I'm sure we'll get quite a lot of interviews. That tends to be what happens when you go on the tours and things like that. Quite a lot of interviews come out. Mickey van der Ven speaking about Vuskovic and where he thinks Vuskovic can go. It's really quite interesting. Actually, let me bring it up and we can have a little look. But he's kind of insinuating that all centre halves can learn from each other, which I think is a brilliant way to look at things. If you're able to do that, let's just see this one, isn't it? Here we are. Let's bring it up. So, Mickey van der Ven on Vuskovic. He's only 18 years old, but what you can see, how he behaves on and off the pitch, you can see he's a really talented footballer, has lots of qualities, and I think he's shown the last few friendlies that he's a lot of big and strong points who even our centre halves can learn from. I think that's brilliant. I think that's brilliant news because there is a lot of things that they could learn from. Van der Ven is not, despite being a very, very tall fella and quite a stocky fella as well, he's not the best in the air. However, Vuskovic is a bit of a tank. Obviously, the goal scoring abilities that he's got. It would be brilliant if there's some way that these could all sort of learn off of each other. And if Romero was just a little bit less hot-headed, then I think it's a real good place for him to be able to learn. It'd be interesting to know what's done with Vuskovic this year. Obviously, there's been quite a few friendlies. He impressed, obviously. The Reading was quite an impressive performance. And the rumour seems to be swirling that he's potentially going to stay around until January, and then that's when he may head off. Now, with that, I think if he actually stays, then he can become a club-trained player. Now, that's a very, very difficult situation to be in, because do you potentially harm his development by keeping him? And if so, when he does become club-trained, how effective is he going to be? Because we've had loads of club-trained players over the... My Wi-Fi is horrendous for some reason, so if any comments make zero sense, blame the Wi-Fi. I'm going to use this excuse. I'm going to say my Wi-Fi is horrendous, and if you hear terrible comments from me, then it's the Wi-Fi's fault, and it's nothing to do with me. So, Paul, we're in the same boat here. We're in the same boat. But yeah, I just think that it's a tough one. Like, as I say, you've got players like Skip, you've got players like Winks, you've got players like Tanganga that have all obviously left the club. They was all club trained, but they wasn't at the required level. So it's a real difficult balance. And Mikey Moore's another one. Obviously, Mikey Moore looks like he's potentially going to be going on loan to Rangers and signing a new contract as well, which is brilliant news. But it's just a real difficult one when you're not sure whether these players are going to develop. Now, I think Vuskovic is going to be a very, very good player, but it's all about how you manage these young players. That they need to be around the better players. So is he better off in training, learning from Romero, Van der Ven? Some won't like it, but even someone from a professional standpoint like a Ben Davies. Or is he better off and potentially not playing every single game? Or is he better off going to a top level championship team and playing just week in, week out, getting a bit more used to, say, English football? And every player is different. There are some players, and Phil Foden is a prime example. And City were basically like, where is he going to get a better education than playing off of, or playing on training with a De Bruyne or with a Silvas, both Silvas, and that. So obviously he did develop into a Premier League player, but it could have been that he didn't. Do you know what I mean? It's like a real tough one with these sorts of players. Big up, mate. Big up. Is that Big Rom in? I think is that Big Rom in your display picture there. I'm loving that. So it's a tough one. Like these young players, people think that young players, it's very, very easy to kind of develop. And if that was the case, every club would do it because it's so cheap, isn't it? Like if you have 11 academy players playing as your first 11, they tend to be on less wages. You obviously haven't paid a transfer fee. It just doesn't work like that. Like Mikey Moore, for instance, he played, was it 20 odd first team appearances last year at 17. And the Spurs fan base were up in arms saying that he should be playing far, far more. And that's just not it. Managing and coaching at youth level is completely a different kettle of fish to managing like older players. It's just completely. Romero when he pulled Cuckoo's hair. Loved that. Oh yeah, I can actually see him in the background having a little scream up. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That's the only problem with YouTube. You can't quite work out some of the display pictures, but top draw. I love that. What do we think? Is Romero? It seems to be. I think there's a bit of a story about it after. We can start kind of there, seeing as it's the display picture there. Romero looks like he's going to be staying now. I at one stage thought that he was going, but it definitely looks like he could be one now that ends up staying. 2 years left on his deal. For me, probably needs to sign a new contract. So you've got the laughs. Kevin's in the building. Big up, Kevin. Thanks for popping by. Brilliant display picture. You've got display picture of the day so far, for sure. There you go. As we was discussing it, Mikey Moore has given permission to hold talks on our loan. So Frank's come out and said, very important. Mikey is a big talent. Really excited about his future here at Spurs. I think all players, but especially younger players, need consistent football, first team football into their bodies. I think if we can be the right option, we will agree to it. So obviously that's in regards to the Rangers loan move. Again, I've always said with young players, it's not always about what quality of the league they go into. Now, obviously, it has to be a decent standard, but it's just more about just playing games, like literally just learning how to use your body in men's football, because it's a completely different level. And I actually brought this up on some streams recently about Mikey Moore. I don't think people realise how quick his progression has been in terms of, if you go and look on, I think it's Transfer Market, Mikey Moore's nearly played as many first team games as he has under 21s and under 18s games. Like his progression was so rapid and so quick. It was absolutely, like, it's just madness, because he was basically in the under 18s, and then Spurs do what they do quite regular, where they call young players up and they will train with the first team. So when he was going through that, he got an injury. It wasn't last year, it was actually the year before. He got a few injuries. He was kind of called up to the under 21s like mid-season, essentially. And he got a few injuries, so he didn't play every single game for them. And then by the time he came back from injury, he was basically brought into the first team. And then obviously last year, he didn't play for the under 21s much at all. So he's ranking and rating and stats and everything else for youth football is actually not that high. So essentially, this is a kid who has played against players that are a couple of years older than him for let's say a couple of seasons. But again, none of these players would have been fully developed physically. He's pretty much skipped the under 21s. So he's gone from playing against kids to playing against, we're not talking bigger players or stronger players. We're talking about the top level players, because he's in the first team of Spurs. So he's playing against Premier League players. So that learning curve is very, very difficult, and he just needs to be playing games. Very similar to when was it Alfie Devine that we sent out on loan, and players like that, they need to just play games regardless of the level. They just have to play more games, unless they're training around the first team, and that's an area of development. Kevin says, I watched Rangers tonight. Whilst they weren't great, they're playing passing football, which will help, Mikey. Yep, and you've got to imagine that the level of opposition they were playing today is probably higher than what they will be playing in their league. So, as you said, the football may not have been great. However, in their league, they will probably dominate the ball more. I don't know the stats. I haven't looked. I've seen that they won, but my guess is that they will probably be the stronger side in most games. They'll be playing a weaker side than what they played tonight most of the time. Obviously, Celtic can probably be disregarded in that aspect, but everywhere else it will probably be. So they'll be on the ball a little bit more. They'll be attacking a little bit more, and I think that will probably help Mikey Moore, because at Spurs we are often playing against like a low block team who let's worry about our defensive structure first. So if he's in a Rangers team, who most teams are probably going to do that against Rangers, he's trying to find the spaces, trying to find the holes, trying to be creative. So that's exactly what we need. There's no point in him going to, let's say, in a world, I don't think it would happen, but let's say he goes to a Premier League team, but they're down the bottom. He's not going to be on the ball. He's not going to be learning much. It's going to be more defensive work and everything else. So again, the standard of the league is not what's pivotal here. It's the fact that we want him to be playing against men. We want him to be playing in essentially adult football is what you require. Big up, Steve. Stevie's always in here. Appreciate you coming in. So I just appreciate the support. Like, honestly, today I got a notification from YouTube to say we've had over 3,000 watched hours, which is just unbelievable. The support has just been ridiculous. I say it every stream, but I'm just blown away by it. Hi Luke, hope you're doing well. I'm doing okay. I'd do a lot better if we could get some signings over the line. We get really, really excited about. Regarding Moore, I think the physicality of the SPL will be good for him. Also, Rangers played easy passing game. Yeah, similar to what I was just saying. Men's football, physicality, and as I said, they'll be one of the better teams in that league, which therefore naturally normally means they dominate the ball more. They're trying to create openings. They're playing against defensive teams that are on a bit of a low block. So in many ways, it could turn out, and especially at his age. I mean, if we was talking about a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, 22-year-old, you could be sitting there saying maybe he needs to be stepping up levels here, but he's so young that it could end up being a masterstroke. But the only thing I'll say is that Spurs for a number of years now have been pretty poor on loaning players out. They've loaned them to the wrong clubs who play the wrong football, who are just they don't play whatever it is. Spurs have been renowned for doing that, and I really, really hope that that's not the case for Mikey Moore, because I think he's a top talent. A lot of people that are knowledgeable in the game think he's going to go possibly to the very top, and if we manage him correctly, we could have a top player on our hands. Where was I going to go next? What were we looking at? We've got some more here. Let's have a look. Big up Milton. How are we doing, sir? Player we should have gone for. Francisco. Gone to South and Porto. Went to Juve, 30 million to be paid over 4 years. Yeah, he's a very good player, mate. He is a very, very good player. And I think you're a big fan. If I remember rightly, I think you've said that in either Nige or the Mark Show streams. But yes, and this is part of the problem, is that it's not a huge amount of money, and the amount of times where we miss out on players that are in other leagues, I'm just not sure the scouting's there. I'm just not sure that our scouting department is up to scratch, and they've made some changes. I know that. I know they've made a few changes, but like anything at Spurs, are them changes going to be good enough? I'm worried because there are top players that we miss out on, and not top players in the sense of we every fan base has it, but there'll be players that we'll miss out on, like, and people will be absolutely there will just be so much outrage, and you're like, the player's just gone unsigned for Juventus, or the player's just gone unsigned for PSG, or said different names. There's so many different clubs I can name, and you're like, let's just hang on a minute here. Like, what are we really saying here? Are we saying that we should be winning the battle against the Real Madrid or Barcelona or Bayern Munich? That's not really going to happen on most occasions. But some of these players that we're missing out on are everybody knows they're going to be a top player, so why have we not gone in for them? But B, some of them are just going to clubs where you go, well, we should be able to rival that. We should be able to rival that. And I think that's a big problem. Thought it was, mate. I thought it was. Appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And as I said, completely agree. Maybe I'm biased because I'm Portuguese. Well, we all have that, mate. We all have that. We have a little bit of bias in us, don't we? We all have a bit of bias for Spurs and everything else. But I agree. I think he's a good player. There's a lot of good players in Portugal. I think that Spurs should be looking at that could do a job. There's been a few at Sporting. Do you have like a Portuguese team that you support, or is it just Spurs for you? Dave, big up Dave, listening in from Lara, from Melbourne, Australia. Thoughts on why we haven't moved on Richie yet? Been rubbish for years. Definitely thought he would have been out the door. Big up first of all, massive hello and good morning or good evening. I'm not sure what it is for you. Why haven't we moved on Richie? I think there's a multitude of reasons. I'll tell you what is interesting is that I was on a stream recently and was talking about Spurs, and we were saying that obviously what's happened in the background at Spurs, the training facilities, I mean the training ground is absolutely ridiculous, and maybe it's a case of if you are a rotational player, let's use Richarlison as an example, right? Are you going to go anywhere where the facilities are going to be anywhere near the level they are at Spurs? And let's be honest, the answer's probably no. So is it just a nice place to be? Is it just a nice place to be? If you've not got that drive where you go, I have to be playing every single week, and obviously Richie's been in and out of injuries, is it just a nice place to be? Like, you're probably on a decent wage. There's an argument maybe you could earn a bit more money going elsewhere, but you're probably on near enough what you're going to earn. You're in top drawer facilities. You probably got professional cooks. And you look at some of the training grounds, even in the Premier League, some of the training grounds that these clubs have, they are absolutely nowhere near it. They're literally nowhere near what Spurs have. So are we in a predicament where we've upgraded everything so much off the pitch that we've made it a cozy place for people to be, even if you're not starting? I think that's a reason behind it. I really do. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but I think it's a factor. I think it's absolutely a factor in it. And the other part of that is that we keep signing these players and giving them contracts. And what can you do other than say to them, right, you're out of the squad, you're not going to play, and you're not going to be registered? Then it pushes him to kind of move on, doesn't it? But it's a difficult one. It's a real difficult one. And I completely agree. And moving Richie on, I'm not against at all. But then the other part of that is that, do you back Spurs to bring someone else in? That's the big thing for me. And there's so many times where people will say Romero is at the start of the window. Would you sell Romero? So, who would be the replacement? Is the only question that needed to be asked. Because if your replacement is as good as, then that's a different question than there's no replacement, for instance. So I definitely feel like we're probably lacking up front. So if Richie moves, then 100% someone else needs to come in for him. But who does? And also, where does Richie go? I think that's the big thing. I had it set in my head that he was going to end up being Everton's star guy to take them into the new stadium. They've obviously gone and signed their striker already, so they don't need him. So where do you? It'd be interesting to know, where do you think that Richie would end up if Richie was to leave? Where do you think he would go? Would it be a case of it being a Saudi link, which apparently he doesn't want? There's been talk about Brazil. Have they got the money? Have they seriously got the money to be able to get Richie out? And that's another thing. What would you say Richie's worth? What would he be worth now? Because Richie's one of them players that, if everybody said the number they think he's worth, right? If he goes and he just stays fit for, let's say, 75% of a season, he could make that cost look ridiculous. He could, because most people probably in this chat, most people are probably going to say, I'd take 15 million, 20 million for Richie, even say 30. But if he has a one decent season, that value just increases again. Like, this guy's Brazil's number 9. Don't ask me how, but he's Brazil's number 9. Like, it's really, really strange. Luke, do you think maybe it would be best for Gray to go out on loan to the club instead of being planned in the position we believe he belongs, regardless of what we pay for him? This is a great question, but it's such a tough one. And it's a tough one again for something that I've already mentioned, in terms of, if he stays for 3 years, then Archie Gray becomes club trained because we signed him at 18. So that comes into the decision making. And should it is a question? Should it come into it? Probably not, but it does. It's a factor. Personally, if you got rid of all the extenuating circumstances, you're club trained and etc., it would be fantastic if we could get him on loan to Leeds. I think it would be absolutely perfect. I think Leeds would probably take him back. He goes on loan. He gets a year's experience. He will be playing in the Premier League. And should what you paid for him be a factor? No, it shouldn't be. Is it a factor? Probably under Levy. I can't imagine him being too happy to sign a player for what would have been 40 million and then loaning him out. But hey, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I've just realised, guys, I'm currently on 1199 subscribers. I need one more to take us to 1.2k. So for everyone that's in here, there must be one of you that hasn't subbed. So do your good deed for the day. Sub to the channel so we hit 1.2k. It'd be unbelievable, and I thank you all. What would you do, Stevie? Would you be happy for RG Gray to go out on loan? I think the other part of this as well, is Morgan Gibbs-White was obviously an option that Spurs wanted. Palhinha seems to be another option. Now, if we bring both of them in, and obviously we've got Basuma that is the most likely to go, there's probably, in terms of squad depth, there's probably enough space for him to move on as well. So I think that's quite that. I think, as I say, perfect scenario would be for him to go on loan to Leeds. You could even do like a recall clause in January. If he's smashing it and we're struggling, we can get him back. But yeah, I like him. I think he could be a good player, but he needs to be playing, and I can't see him playing that often at Spurs. Very kind of you, Milton. Very, very kind of you. Thank you, sir. Follow Porto Spurs. Pissing down the rain at 8 o'clock. Oh no. No one likes that. It's been raining quite a lot in the evening times in the UK. So, but it's actually been cooling down the air. It's not been too bad, to be fair. So, but really, really appreciate it, Paul. So yeah, there's quite a few players at Porto that I think, as I say, I've had a little look across the different leagues about some players that I think we should be looking at. But tomorrow night at 9:30, we have Euro expert. Some of you know him as the guy from The Athletic. He used to do sensible transfers and still does a bit of that as well. He's going to be coming on, and he's going to be giving us some players that he thinks Spurs should be looking at. He came on about a month ago, and I was hoping that we would have a lot more signings through the door so that he can evaluate a squad. However, I asked him to pick 4 players. I think it was 3 players, and he done 4. But I asked him to pick 3 players that he would really think that Spurs should be going after, and one of them was Kudus or Kudus. Kudus. I keep being told off. It's Kudus. So yeah, maybe there's. I've wrote down a list of different players that we're kind of going to play yes or no to towards the end of the stream, and there'll be some Portuguese league players that will be in that as well, and it will be a simple yes or no to him, and obviously the chat can obviously send in their suggestions as well. So if you haven't already, then yeah, please make sure you're there tomorrow at 9:30. It will be a good one. On the last video we done, it was one of the most successful live streams on the channel, and we done it on a different day, a different time, because StreamYard wasn't working on the day we normally record on the Thursday, so we had to reschedule it. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Brilliant guest, so knowledgeable, and he's also for anyone that hasn't seen him before, he analyzes everything from players to tactics, but he doesn't support a football team. He just supports football. So there is no animosity from a rival or anything like that. He's got no affiliation with Spurs, so you're able to see it from someone's eyes where there's no bias at all in him. So definitely would recommend tuning in tomorrow night. Kiwi Spurs TV, big up. Thank you for popping by, much appreciated. We've got quite a few messages recently, so we'll work through some of them. Big up, Luke. I'm losing the will to live with this transfer window. Big up, Archer. Thanks for popping by, mate. You're not the only one. We're struggling out here. We are struggling out here. When you look at that squad that's been sent out on that tour, we're not the only ones struggling. Spurs are struggling as well. So Richie worth 25 million. Send him to Everton and get Braithwaite. Yeah, I mean, again, 25 million. I think most people would take that. To be honest, I think most people would say, Richie, 25 mil, take it, and let's go and reinvest that money elsewhere. But again, is there someone out there you can go and get for 20 million, 25 million? Braithwaite, he's just signed a new contract, I think. If I remember rightly, I think he's actually just signed a new contract. So I think he's a decent player, but again, would he be one that wants to come and potentially play backup or a rotation? I'm not so sure. Good player, though. Spurs die hard, Tottenham till I die. How are we doing, Adrian, sir? I hope you're well. We had a lovely stream last week. Really, really good chat. Love going on Adrian's show. Great guys. Good conversation as always. Thank you for popping by, mate. Big up, Milton. Let's have a little look. You just reminded me. Let's have a little look. Have we hit that 1.2k? Yes, we have. Big up to whoever's just subbed to the channel, because you've just made us hit 1.2k. And what's disappointing is that by tomorrow morning when I wake up, someone would have unsubbed and would have dropped right back down again, because that's just what happens with YouTube. It is what it is. Dave says, bring in Eze or Wissa. We keep banging on about being in the Champions League, and by the time the second transfer window opens, we'll be out of the Champions League and mid-table. Time to clear out and bring in experienced players. Mate, I completely agree. I think Eze, obviously, the hype kind of died down about him, with him potentially going to Arsenal and all of that. But if you can bring in an Eze, it just kind of, listen, not just Spurs fans, every set of fan base is just very, very reactionary. That's the problem. They're just so reactionary. So we are in a lull, as who mentioned it earlier? Was it Archer, wasn't it? We're in such a negative spot at this moment in time. And to be fair, if everyone rightly remembers that before the Kudus deal, Kudus, I keep saying it wrong, everyone was in the same spot. We was in the same spot. We was thinking, what's going on here? And then, boom, him and Morgan Gibbs-White deals were announced within back-to-back days, and there was just a big buzz again. And obviously, we're back in that lull. So I think Eze changes it. I've just seen Toxic Headshot. Big up, mate. Thanks for popping by. Eze only wants Arsenal. I agree, but he only wanted Spurs, the rumours were. He only wanted Spurs how long ago? So I'm not so sure that is there are players ever in a position where they go, I only want to sign for one club and not anyone else. Is that not just a bit of a media thing? Because let's be honest, like if the deal don't go through to Arsenal, why would he sit there and say all of that? It doesn't make any sense to sit because he's basically told everyone I don't want to play for you, sort of thing. So I know that's the rumour, but as I said, I think we had the same thing with Spurs. People were saying that he only wanted Spurs. So I'm glad I'm not the only one who needs to make that decision. Yeah, Frank wanted Gray at Brentford. Yeah, he did. He wanted Gray, and he wanted Brennan Johnson. So again, it will be interesting to see what he actually thinks of Gray when he comes in. And I agree. I've said this as well, but it also you've got to think of there's a level he might understand that if he brought Gray in at Brentford, that level he could compete at. However, when it comes to the Champions League and where we want to be, is Gray going to get to that level now, basically? I'm not saying he won't get to that level, but does he get there now? Especially work outside. Oh, yeah. Don't want to be doing that. No. But again, it depends on how hot it is. Yeah, Spurs is the big game. Big game tomorrow. Spurs, Arsenal. What's everyone's thoughts on it? I spoke to a few fans have come on. We've had a few YouTubers on a recent series that we've just put together called My Spurs Preview. And basically it's a bit of a preview to the season to see how fans are feeling about it. And there's a bit of nerves. There's a bit of nerves ahead of the Arsenal game. And rightly so. It's going to be a tough one. There's a lot of hard, difficult games coming up now, which I think is really, really good. See, Spurs have missed out on getting decent young players in Hayden Hackney. Would have been a great number 6 Spurs, but he hasn't pulled his finger out. See, big up Michael Jackson. I didn't think I'd ever be saying that. Big up Michael Jackson. I completely get what you're saying here, because I think it is another player that we potentially look back and go, have we missed out on him? However, we're in a bit of a sticky situation here, because if we go and signed him, then everyone would say he's the cheap option, and everyone would say he's gone too young and we need more experience. So it's a real difficult one, and the reason why it's difficult is because of the situation we've allowed ourselves to get in. But the only thing I would say, and I think we don't do this enough as fans, is sometimes we need to look, and this doesn't work for everything. I completely agree on that. However, we need to look at where these players move to and what other clubs are interested and involved in transfers. Yeah, because like Keeley, for instance, Josh Keeley, there's been a bit of uproar from some fans saying that he should have been involved in the first team. Now he's gone to a League One club. So there wasn't championship clubs. You would imagine there wasn't championship clubs coming in saying, we think you could be our number one for a few years, whatever. And if I'm right, Hackney's also going to a championship club. So, and it's not, as you said, it's not an expensive deal. It's not like we're not asking 40 odd million or anything like that. So if he was as good as people are saying he is, then would he not, and Kevin's involved in this as well, would he not be a player that would go to a lower level? Would a Leeds not go in for him? Someone who's just come up potentially, like Sunderland are signing left, right, and centre. So I'm not saying I think he's a good player. I really do think he's a good player. So I don't want anyone to get confused with what I'm saying. I'm just thinking that sometimes when players sign for other teams, you look at that caliber of team and go, maybe he wasn't the one we thought he was. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nottingham Forest going in for Douglas Luiz. I've kind of completely gone against what I initially said about this fella, because of the whole I'm not turning up to training and things like that. Douglas Luiz on a loan deal. I'm not against it at all. I think he brings a lot of issues. He solves a lot of issues that we have. However, I can't get on board with that. I'm not training. I just can't get on board with it. It drives me absolutely mad when players use this as an option. It drives me crazy. On a loan deal, it's a little bit different. You can kind of test out the personality and the attitude, but if he's done it, he's going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Especially at a club like Juventus, who have got such rich traditions and heritage and everything else. It's like, really, I don't think we're ever in for Wissa. I completely agree, Stevie. Completely agree. I think it was all a smokescreen. I think Brentford really wanted Man United to stomp up the money for Mbuemo. So if they start levying out that other players are interested in, other clubs are interested in their other players, it then pushes Man United to stomp it up. So Wissa didn't make sense to me on a lot of reasons. He made sense on some reasons, but he also didn't make sense on a lot of reasons. But yeah, I don't think it was. I'm surprised if Brentford sell them both, but he seems to have kicked up a bit of a fuss as well. So, and we need to remember that if these players are doing it at these clubs, there's nothing stopping them doing them when they come here. And it's not a great look. Spurs need to leave, make a loss on majority players. Yeah, this is a funny one, Archer, and I completely agree. I'm not disagreeing. I completely agree with you. It's amazing how we seem so dead set on. We will only sign players we make a profit on. We will only sign players that we can sell on. Well, at the moment, we can't sell anyone, and anyone that we have bought in the past, we do make a loss on. So it's very, very funny how we have an outlook on it as a club, and yet it never comes to fruition. Elkanus, we spoke about him a bit earlier. Again, I think he's a player that probably in like a couple of years, people look back and go, how the hell has he not been snapped up? How does no one see this coming? But right now, we need players that improve the 11 right away. And I think he could be almost like a bit of box of tricks sort of thing that you could bring off the bench and he can make things happen. But we need to improve the 11. And I don't think he comes in and improves it. So again, we talk about Spurs transfers and things like that. But if he comes in as an option and we sign other players that are a better level than him, then sure, he's a great squad option. I think he'd be brilliant to be coming off the bench. If we're signing him and not getting a XYZ in, then I'm not so sure. What is everyone's thoughts on Elkanus? Because there's been a bit of Twitter war I've seen about Elkanus. Some people are saying dreadful and others saying really, really good. So I'd be interested to know. We were pants against Wickham and Luton, few good cameos, that's what we saw. Yeah. One thing I will say is that pre-season has been very, very bitty. I can't imagine our team against Arsenal being so disjointed in terms of young players, like not first teams. What I'm really hoping for from tomorrow and actually the rest of pre-season is seeing what Frank views as almost his 11 and just playing a little bit more like that, where it's been very split up, players' fitness and two teams playing on the same day, etc. So it'd be interesting to see who is in the 11 tomorrow, and you'd hope that that's sort of Frank's 11, if you like. Spurs have money to spend. If we can spend 50 million on a video, we have the money. Well, again, what we was just discussing earlier, we have 60 on Morgan Gibbs-White. Rumours are Zabani, we're willing to go to 70 million. So if that's the case, the money's there. So why are we not offering it up to players that actually want to come? So I agree, and I think it's a massive few weeks, mate. It really, really is. So true, Archer. How can a club that's done so brilliant at building the infrastructure get it so consistently wrong on the pitch? Like, consistently wrong. This isn't like one or two big mistakes. It's consistently wrong. What was it? The top 10 biggest transfers in Spurs history. If I remember reading this before, like literally one or two of them in the top 10. Yeah. Right. So the top one is Solanke. Most people would probably say not reached the heights you would expect. Kudus has come in there. Tanguy and Ndombele. So we've got Solanke, we would probably say he's not reached the level. Ndombele, Richarlison. It's harsh on Johnson because of the goals that he scored, but Johnson, Romero, Maddison, Sanchez, Davinson Sanchez, Archie Gray and Pedro Porro, who is level with Mickey van der Ven, they are the top 10. So you've got Archie Gray, Davinson Sanchez, Brennan, Richarlison, Ndombele, Solanke. Them 6 are in the top 10. And they've all spent about 40 million. We're just so bad at this. Like, we're so bad. How you doing, mate? Big up, Chasey. Have we signed anyone yet or close to signing that? Absolutely not, mate. Absolutely not. Rumours are. It's really weird under Land. You can definitely tell a shift in approach. You just don't really hear about anything. The Kudos deal, you didn't hear anything about. The Morgan Gibbs White deal, you didn't hear anything about. So it's really weird to see the kind of shift that we've had. There's Mikey Moore who's talking about. We've got a few more chats, and then we'll go back to what we've got. Isn't Palhinha available on loan as well? Might as well go for it. If what I'm seeing was correct on, where did I see who reported it? I can't remember who reported it today, but they were saying that they want £40 million for Palhinha. So, mate, if that's the case, I don't see why Bayern Munich would loan Palhinha. It doesn't make any sense for Bayern Munich to do that unless they get a massive loan fee or it's an obligation to buy, because for all of the reasons that Spurs fans have named, they don't want Palhinha. That will be the same for Bayern. So his age, well, if we loan him for a year, he's another year older, so therefore he becomes even more difficult to sell. So I don't think he is available on loaners unless we stump up a huge loan fee. Douglas Luiz, as I say, I spoke about him just now. Just the attitude of not going to training. Just I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'll be happy with it or not. Maybe on loan, but sign Garnacho, Palhinha, Eze, and be done. We need signings now. No, I completely agree. I'm not sure Garnacho's the guy. I wouldn't turn him down, but again, it's one of them where if he's your starting left winger, where are you expecting to go, sort of thing. And I think what we also need to kind of be a little bit careful with here is, do we want to sign it with regards to Garnacho? How quickly do we think we will outgrow a Garnacho and need to replace him? That's another thing we need to be careful of. You don't want to be buying a player and then a year later or 2 years later going, hang on a minute, we need to upgrade him again. Do you know what I mean? Because then you've spent, it's probably going to be a big outlay. The wages are probably going to be decent. So, Adrian, Jashari's just ridiculous. The guy is just unbelievable. For anyone that hasn't seen it, he's obviously been doing the rants on X and specifically YouTube recently. He is just unbelievable, this guy. Spurs team tomorrow: Vicario, Spence, Van der Ven, Romero, Porro, Sarr, Bentancur, Bergvall, Son, Solanke, Kudus. I mean, it's not brilliant, is it? It's not brilliant, to be honest. I mean, the midfield, Sarr, Bentancur, Bergvall, they're almost the second midfielder, aren't they? All three of them. There's none in there where you go, he'll not win you the game, but he'll dominate the game. Like you can, do you know what I mean? There's just one player in there that just picks it up and just keeps the game ticking. They're all, for me, like the secondary player, the backup, the second in command. Do you know what I mean? We need that one player that's the star guy, I think. Jashari's top player. We did. I think Tell will be a good player, but we've overspent regardless. That's big up, Gary. What are we, the ninth richest club in the world? What on earth are we playing at? Don't. Just don't. We do this all the time, don't we? Everything's about money. We don't spend it well. We're brilliant off the pitch. Jed Spence, new contract. There's a bit of positive news. Jed Spence, what's our thoughts on that? Because he came out of blue, didn't he, really? I can't see him playing as the first choice in left or right under Frank, but he seems to be happy. I think he's a great option. I like this. See a couple of quotes that came out from Matisse Tell over the last few days. I don't know what it is. Let me just give you my thoughts on Tell. I'm sure a lot of you are not going to agree with me at all, but I could just see something in this guy, and I don't know what it is. Don't ask me to name what it is. Don't say what's he done. Don't say what have you seen. I don't know. I just feel like he's got the potential to do really, really well. Um, a few things. I think he'll play in a different way than what Ange played. I think Frank will play in a different way, which therefore means his wingers will be closer to the goal. And I think tells he's a player that needs to be closer to the goal. That's it. He's just got the right attitude. He just gets it. He's just got that. And some of these quotes, some of this, you might understand what I'm saying here. So on learning from Son, I'm talking to all the time with Sonny. He's got more experience. Sorry, guys, just give me 1 second. Sorry, guys, just had someone knock at the door asking for Derek. So, don't know who that is. More experience than me. I just want to learn and make sure that I become better every day. He helps me every day. Sonny's a legend. Everybody knows him. I'm very happy to work with him, and I think this is going on to Sonny. I think this is it. If he's around, then this is the sort of stuff that the young players will learn from, and everything else. I'm very happy about it. Big club. Time to write this story at a club like this. I'm very happy to be here and to have more success with the club. And then for me, Tottenham can win everything. Like I said, it's a big club. Every competition we play in and play with a lot of energy, and we prepare for the game. And there's also another one. I don't think I included it. Oh yeah, here it is. This is another one. Matisse tells us if he's spoken with Thomas Frank about the position he'll be used in primarily. I don't talk about position, just the main thing is collective. Every player is important. We will see what happens. I just need to be ready and prepare myself. It's just brilliant from a young player to just be like, I don't care. I just want to play. That's exactly what you want. And obviously he's come from Bayern Munich, so we could walk in with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, being like, I deserve better than this. I don't know what it is. It doesn't make sense to me sometimes. I just feel like he could be really, really good this year. But I'll caveat that by saying that he shouldn't be your starting left winger. Again, we should be going and signing someone that's a higher level than what he currently is at. Solanke is a donkey. Johnson, little boy, can't take a man on. Who's lost his legs? Tell rubbish, in my opinion. What are we doing here? We need signings yesterday. No, I completely agree. As I said, like, I think that I wouldn't be as harsh, but I completely get the premise, and I think you're not a million miles away with that. I think Solanke is better than what we've seen. I think the tactics will be better. I think he will probably score more goals. But again, it's about levels, isn't it? And is Solanke a top 4 striker? Is he a top 6 striker? Is he a top 8 striker? And that's almost how we need to judge these sorts of things, because these are the levels where you want to get to, right? We want to be it's top 5 now, but you want to be a top 4 team, don't you? You can only be a top 4 team if you get top 4 players. And if you don't have enough top 4 players, then you're not going to reach that level. So, again, just using these names, I think Solanke with a good backup, with a good another striker that's a great option, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. Johnson coming off the bench, I think that's a decent option. I don't think there won't be many clubs that will be able to bring a player on that's able to score the amount of goals he does from a wide position if you're struggling to get a goal or whatever. But again, not a first team man. And I feel like I said about the midfield, we've got so many second options that we don't have the top option. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't have the one star where you go like, we've got the number 1 right winger, we've got number 2 or 3 sort of thing. Son's lost his legs, unfortunately. I do agree with that. Again, I think that he'll be closer to the goal this season under Frank, so I think he'll probably be more impactful. However, he will be someone who, if he has a good season, it will be statistically, it won't be on the eyes. And Tell, I've already discussed. I think he'll have a decent season, but I do think that relies on us getting another winger in as well that he can really learn from. Garnacho's close to joining Chelsea with Xavi Simons. I don't know. Oh, mate, Big up, Ronnie. I don't. I've been saying it. So Chelsea have literally had the perfect window that Spurs. So Hato from Ajax, left centre back, left back, young, relatively cheap, perfect for Spurs' current squad. We've got a player that can play left centre back. He can play left back. He's athletic. He's able to get up the pitch. He's able to come in field and defend. Literally perfect. Xabi Simons, perfect sort of player for us. Could probably play as an 8. Could play as a 10. Could play off the left. Perfect player. João Pedro, perfect player for us. Can play as a 9. Can play off the left. Can play off the right. Probably play central. Got all of them are versatile. If we got them 3 players in with a deeper lie-in playmaker, defensive midfielder, etc., we've literally had the perfect window, and they've gone and signed them. So I've been saying about Hater, I've been saying that Spurs should be looking at him for months now, or weeks now, and we've got the here we go on Chelsea. So yeah, Zula's a good option. Zula is a good option. I believe his stats are pretty poor this year. From what I remember, I think I watched it on someone's stream the other day where they looked into him a bit more. I think he's a good player. I just mean statistically, he didn't look great. Lookman better than anything we have on the left, but 17, 18 wouldn't it? Yeah, it looks like, is it Inter Milan who are interested in him? 50, I think he's been quoted 50 million euros. So what's that, 45 million quid? But it's not that expensive, is it really, when you consider that's kind of going rate? 50 million quid is about right for everyone there, isn't it? If you remember a few years back, everyone was 30 million. So wherever you 30 million. Then it went 40, now it's 50. Everyone's 50 million. Like, every single player is at least 50 million. But Lookman's a great shout. But again, he ain't going to go for him, is he? We're not going to sign that sort of player because we need to have a resale, because we're really, really good at selling players. So what are we thinking in regards to tomorrow's game? I'm not to be negative. I think the first part is that we just can't be embarrassed. We've got to put up a show. We've got to, if it's a tough game and they edge it, then it is what it is. But it's really, really strange why we have gone out there so late. I think it's a really weird one. But it's Spurs. We never do anything that makes sense, do we? We're always doing stuff that you can't really make sense of it. It's like, why have we done that? This just don't make any sense. But that's Spurs. I'd love to say that it surprises me, but it doesn't. It's just what we do. If there's anything where you go, well, that makes sense, Spurs are not doing it. What do you think, Gary? What do you think of tomorrow's game? What's everyone thinking? Are we in a hopeful mood for absolutely no reason whatsoever, or do we think? There you go. Weird, just strange. Doesn't make any sense. But when does Spurs make sense? As I said, it's just a weird, really, really weird one. Pick up Jessica. Go for Vlahovic for 30 million rotation. Little risk. I have a feeling that Adrian in the chat is going to be very, very happy with your suggestion. Adrian is a big, big fan of Vlahovic and has probably been screaming his name for a considerably long time. But again, wages, but for the price that they're being quoted for, I can't believe that Juventus are willing to sell him for 13 million. I just cannot believe it. I know Juventus are poor at selling players. Dean Huijsen's a perfect example, but 13 million for him, I just can't see them selling it. Talking of positive news, Snapchat, is it on Instagram? Decky with a ball for the first time since May. Could he be returning quicker than expected? I don't think so. There's been some rumours that he's going to be out longer than we thought. Who mentioned it earlier about him signing for Chelsea? Was it Gary who mentioned it? No, Ronnie. Garnacho close to joining. Apparently not. 30 million, they're saying. And it won't get Chelsea won't go above it. This is an interesting one. This is a real interesting one. I'm really interested to know what Tottenham fans think about this. Could Paqueta be the player that we go and get instead of the Morgan Gibbs-White deal? I think the fee's incorrect. From what I'm hearing, West Ham are basically, they're not saying that they're not accepting anywhere near that, and it will be closer to the fee that they rejected from Manchester City at 85 million euros or something. But what do we think of Spurs going and getting a Paqueta after going and get Kudus? Did this bloke looking for Derek look dodgy? Sounds odd to me. Mate, it was weird. He just looked up. He was like, Derek? Absolutely not, Derek. No. All right, no worries. So, bit of a weird one. And I always hate it with a doorbell ringing and waking up the kids, etc. Bit of a nightmare. But it happens far more regular than you would expect. I literally have this happen all the time, where people are knocking at my door and asking, giving names or saying, "Is this do you live at this address?" And it's like, no, you quite clearly, no, I'm not. You're not at that address. But moving on. Grealish loan option. Linia, then Louise and Robinson, 75 million. Imagine that. Imagine that. I'd take Grealish. I'd take Grealish on loan specifically. I think Grealish would be a great option. Linia loan. Again, I would take it. I just don't see it. It doesn't make any sense for me for Bayern to do that, but I would take it. I do think that there are other players out there that we should be targeting that should be a pressing issue other than Palhinha. But I'm certainly not saying I don't think he's a good player or anything like that. I still think he'll be a good option. What else have we got there? Louise and Robinson. Yeah, Louise, as I say, I said it earlier about he's just the fact he hasn't turned up for training. I'm not a fan of. Robinson is a big one. Spurs fans are really, really hot on this Robinson. If you haven't seen it, I've released a little mini series, and one of the suggestions is 10 questions where we get different guests on from YouTube and ask them all the same 10 questions. And obviously, it is a bit difficult because the first few guests come on when Morgan Gibbs-White was relatively fresh to be announced, and we was expecting to sign him, and the recent ones obviously is not. But a few people have mentioned Robinson. One's even said that he would be the one player he would go and get. So be interesting to see what happens there. I've not actually seen any proper links. It's mainly Spurs fans that have said that. Garnacho would be third choice. He would probably phrase towards that. Bram look at him. Yeah, could be a graveyard. Mate, I don't get it. Gary, I don't get it. I've said it for ages. I just don't understand if you're a footballer why you get Chelsea. I just don't. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They don't offer, from my understanding, their contracts are very long, but they're not to a ridiculous level in terms of their wages anymore. And just go elsewhere. Just go to other teams that you'll. I don't know. It's just a weird one. Maybe that's just the Spurs in me. Personally think tells Tony Service the requirement. Mate, I get it. I do get it. I do understand it. I do understand why people say that. And he hasn't shown anything. But I just feel like there's a player in there. I don't know what it is. I just feel like we've got a player in there. I just want to say, guys, a massive thank you. We're now over the 1,200. We're now 1,204. I'm hoping that 5 people don't unsubscribe to bring us under that number again, but we shall see. I know it's not your fault. There's nothing to talk about, is there? Well, I've been talking for an hour and 10, but there's not a lot of definitive things to talk about, i.e. transfers being close or stuff like that. Paqueta, yeah, I like Paqueta. I do. I've always liked Paqueta. Ain't happening. That was my Wi-Fi. Yeah, that might have been mine as well, mate. It might have been mine. If he goes to West Ham in major trouble, very possibility of relegation. Yeah, I just feel like they'll find a way when Bowen will get a few. But it'll be interesting this year. I really think the middle part of the table, like the mid-table area, is going to be really, really difficult. It's going to be really, really close. There's a lot of clubs that have either lost big players, playing in Europe for the first time, that sort of thing. I think it's going to be quite cool to see. Moani's is available. Yeah, he just rejected us, didn't he? He rejected us, and yeah, what's changed? I think would be my thing. What's changed? And I know we can say obviously we won the Europa League, but what's actually changed as a club from, was it January? Was it January time? I can't remember now when we were thinking with Moani. But even January or the start of last season, what's actually changed as a club? Nothing. We're still in the same boat that we've been for God knows how long. Levy's like the Aussie bloke in I'm a Celebrity. Just don't even say anything. Just that's it. That's the only way you know. Just window shut. See you later. Just went for options that would be doable. Yeah. No, I completely agree. I'm just saying I don't know. And again, I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying I just don't get why Bayern, for instance, would loan out a player to lose value further because he'll be a year older, that sort of stuff. But the Grealish one, when that first came out, there was no rumours about City taking on some of the wages and everything. However, that since has come out because there was even reports West Ham were gonna look. So if we can get him where we're paying him, say like 200 grand a week on a loan deal in a World Cup year, I'd take Grealish 100%. 15 days before we play, Adrian, stop reminding us. We don't need this in our lives right now. Let's move on. Let's get Harry Kane coming back. That's another one. Harry Kane's plotting to come back to the Premier League next year. So let's go all in. Let's go and get him. They say, buddy, I think in 9 out of 10 more will be a top player. I still think we needed that. Yeah, I think we need quite a lot. I do think we need quite a lot. There's quite a few different areas that we need to improve. But are Spurs going to do it? It's simple. Are we going to do it? I think we're in desperate need for some defensive sided cover on the left-hand side, either left centre-back or left-back. We need some midfielders through the door, 100%. And then I still feel like we need another forward of some sort. But I think a lot of that is shifting players out the door. And I know there's been a lot of uproar recently about this whole sell to buy. I don't think that's from a financial point of view, although obviously that helps. I think part of it is just that people want, we need players out the door because we've got such a big squad. Right, what I am going to do, because I haven't done this yet, we're going to look at how many likes we've got, because we've now setting targets of 50 likes per stream. We're currently on 38. So if you haven't liked the video already, guys, come on. We need 12 more. We've hit one target today. We are now over 1,200 subs. But the second target for you guys is a simple, very, very simple. Just like the like button. That's it. 11 more. We need 11 more. We've had one do it since I asked. I appreciate you guys. Support's been absolutely incredible. Gary Grealish, though, has to get his mojo back. Lost form game C. He has a lot to prove to many. No doubt he has quality, but I'm on the fence. And I agree with that. And that was why I was really hesitant. But I think in a World Cup year, and is it just unfortunate for him that Guardiola's just gone for a different way of playing? Because you can all see that when Grealish come in for that treble season, he played virtually every game. Like, he was massive to them. And then the style of wingers that they've brought in has been a lot more about pace, a lot more about dynamic. It's a lot more about running past your fullback one-on-one. So is it just a case of he's just gone in a different style? You know what I mean? You go from, people think that Guardiola plays one way, but he has Erling Haaland up front, but he went a season where he had no striker. Like, he's always adapting the way that he plays. So last year, Guardiola was a left back. This year they're going to have Aït-Nouri. The way they're going to play is just going to be different, and it just changes year on year. So I agree it could be that he's lost a bit of his mojo. I agree that it could be because he's won the treble and he's kind of dropped off a little bit. But from a lot of internal people that speak about football, Grealish's attitude is always first class. It's only ever the kind of alcohol bit and the getting drunk bit that kind of comes into it. But as a human, he's an absolutely unbelievable human. So I think he's worth a punt, especially on a loan and also with the World Cup year coming up. Because if he has a good year, he's in the squad. So I just think that if you had a Kudus right, Grealish left, then I think you're looking at you Madison in the middle. I think you're looking at so players start going, that's up. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're a fullback now against Son or Brennan Johnson, I'm alright. I'm chill. I'm alright. Whereas if I got Kudus one side and then Grealish the other, I'm like, oh, today's gonna be a nightmare. Just need to give him time to settle. I mean, that could be. Is that about? Tell. Yeah. I agree. I think he'll be good. I do think he'll be good. It's mad to think the squad's bloated. This is Spurs, isn't it? We must be the only club in it. And I've seen people. I've literally been on streams. I've seen people in the chat talking about, well, Chelsea have a massive squad. It's like, yeah, and all of them are quality. We've got a massive squad, and all of them are not. Definitely take Jack. Yeah, 100%, mate. I would be taking him. If it stays as it is, the younger players are going to get a lot of chances to show their worth. Yeah, but are they good enough? Big up, Robin. Are they good enough? We way overhype our youngsters. We have a youngster that comes in and has an half-decent 20-minute cameo, or has been really good in the under-21s, and we seem to think they're all going to become the best of the best of the best, and it's not the case. So, but you are right. When you look at the squad, the young players, I've been saying for a while now about the Carabao Cup that, and I'm interested to know if you guys agree with this. So, if Spurs have gone out of any cup in any round, then there'd have been uproar because that's a cup we could win. That's something we could win. Why have we chose to say play a youth team or whatever? But the Carabao Cup this year for me feels like it's almost going to be like a throwaway competition. And there's no disrespect to that. I just think that when you've got the who may be staying in the squad, we're not sure who stays. But if you've got your Vuskovic, your Bergvall, your Grays, Moore looks like he's going out on loan, but maybe Lancashire stays in. Maybe there's a couple more that I haven't named. Odebear might not play as much. This could end up being a competition that we go very young in, and that's their learning. That's where they learn. They learn in that competition. And obviously a lot of this depends on your draws. You could end up getting City away in the first game, and then it's completely different. But I have a feeling that the young players, especially in them cup competitions, are going to be given a hell of a lot of chances. And I think it would be brilliant. I love watching. Everybody loves watching the young players come through, but they have to be good enough. And we see them for 5 minutes, and we assume that they're good enough. Big up, Phil Coyes. How are we doing, my man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Little late night stream. It wasn't planned to go on as long as it has, but we're still here. And we're still talking about all things Tottenham Hotspur. There we go. Romero stays. Adrian, what did you say, my man? 15 days until we play them. We play 15 days, and we have got this is one I wanted to speak to you guys about. Ortega has been told he can leave Manchester City now. Who I would bring this guy in, especially if Kinski's going out on loan. I think if we could get a situation where Kinski goes out on loan and we bring this man in, that for me is an upgrade. I like Kinski. I think Kinski will be a top player, but I think he needs to go on loan. I think he needs to play games. We bring this man in, him and Vicario. I'd take it all day long. Looking forward to seeing how Moore gets on a range of Champions League football as well. Great move for him. Yeah, we said this earlier about Moore. I think it'll be a really, really good move. Playing against low blocks, you're one of the best teams in the league. You would imagine that they'll have the ball more, they'll attack more, and it'll be up to him to kind of find ways to break down defences, albeit not at the quality that we want him to do it when he comes back to Spurs. But it's another learning curve for him at such a young age. And also, and I am as well, we're very, very disrespectful to the Scottish League in terms of its quality and everything else. Let's just have it right. Rangers are a massive, massive club. Like, they are huge. And if he's able to have the expectation at a Rangers, he will be able to transfer them sort of expectations to Spurs. That they will have similar expectations. And you could even argue in some aspects they expect to win every single game with the league that they're in. So I think it's a great move. I think Moore would do well there. Yeah, I think everybody seems to think that he will. Looking at options for Grealish doesn't seem to have many. Yeah, Everton keep coming up for a lot of the players that I think we should be looking at. Everton seem to be the guy. Yo, look who it is. Look who it is. Too much of E. How we doing, sir? You all right? How's things? I hope Moore smashes it out there. He could really benefit from this loan. Yeah, he could do 100%. This could be a loan that Spurs have got right for a change. They got it better this year, but in years gone by, the loans have been absolutely disastrous, to say the least. So hopefully they get it right with this one. Game changing shiny stadium, and yet they reject us. Yeah, I mean, what's more to be said? What is more to be said? Well, I think that was pretty much it. These are all older stuff now. Son going. Let's stop sharing that. Let's just come back here. We'll be wrapping up shortly. Well, we won't be going on for too much longer. It is just gone past midnight. But it'd be interesting to know where the sort of players go now, in terms of like Basuma, for instance. Oh, that was it. That's what I wanted to say about Isaac. So apparently he's already agreed the contract at Liverpool. It's the only club he wants. If Liverpool go and get Isaac this summer, Jesus, good luck to the rest of the Premier League. What would that be? Is that 5 first team like starters that they've got? They've got Kirkes. They've brought in Ekatike. Who else have they brought in? It's gone right on my brain. Isaac. Like Verts. Like, that's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. After clear talks with Thomas Frank about his future, it looks like Romero's there to stay. Oh, Frimpong as well. Yeah, of course it was Frimpong that replaced Trent. Probably not as good, but that's a brilliant window, isn't it? That is an absolute brilliant window. Taylor's great computer as well. Lucario isn't blessed with. No, 100%. And it seems that Frank's going down that route. If you see some of the training, it looks like he's almost playing as the second or the third centre back. And he seemed to do really well every time he come in for Edison last year. I mean, he seemed to do really, really well. So I'd be surprised if there wasn't loads of clubs queuing up to take him, to be honest. I straight away, as soon as that was announced, I was thinking, get him in. And I'm pretty sure it was only announced like a couple of hours after, might have been a bit longer, of Kinski going. So I was like, absolutely, if we can do that and swap them two over, unbelievable deal for me. Kinski get the extra loan. Ortega for me is an upgrade on him right now. Yeah, they brought the goalkeeper in. I mean, that was wrapped up last summer, wasn't it? But he looks like a top player, and that's probably I said it earlier about succession at Spurs. You've got Son. You've had 10 years to find his successor. We've not bothered. Liverpool got Alisson in there. Succession plan. Bosh. There we go. Take that. Top 4 basically locked in. City. Yeah. Well, it has allowed them. It has allowed them because obviously, but they've just had there is a difference between having money and then spending it wisely. And I think City have had because they've done their business so early. I think people are forgetting what business they've done. Liverpool have had a great window. Chelsea, I hate to say it, their window has been, the players they are getting in or have got in are superb. Like, they are absolutely superb. And then Arsenal, obviously, they've now got that striker in that they've craved for a very long time. Hopefully, that doesn't go very well. that's the biggest thing that Spurs can hope for, is that doesn't go as well as planned, because we could be even more in the mud. Albeit last year, Ortega's 33. That feels the right age. I must say that feels the right age. Let's have a little look. What is he? 32. November is 33, so it'd be 33 this season. And yeah, as I said, Jessica, you're right. I think them four are above. And then in that group afterwards, you've got United, Villa, Newcastle, and we'll be kind of throw Spurs in there as well. But this is the problem, and again, I've been discussing this on stream, is that people have been comparing our windows to the rival clubs. But the facts is that we're so far behind all of them clubs that we can't have as good a window as them. We need to have a better one, because if we only have as good as theirs, we're not making up the ground. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're already that far away, you can't then have the same as them, because you'll maintain that far away. So we need to pull a rabbit out of a hat is what we need to do. And the longer it goes on, even if we get, which I don't think we will, even if we get the right players through the door, how much further back are we going to be at the start of the season when these players are not integrated? They don't know the system, they don't know the style, they haven't done the training, we just do everything wrong, don't we, as a club? Literally every single thing wrong. Why is it not letting me click? It's not letting me click on people. What's going on with StreamYard? For some reason, guys, I can't click on the comments. Big up, Beast of TH. How are you doing, Luke? Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Oh, here we go. Is it working now? Here we go. Even if it's 150 minutes between now and the end of the season, we're still miles off that top four. Well, I mean, it depends on who you get in. But if we spent 150 million, my expectation would be that we bought 350 million pound players, and that would get us closer. It would get us closer, in my opinion, if it was spent right. But Gary, you're right. If we spend it like we have done previously, then yeah, we could end up being further away because we bought utter dross. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like Douglas Luiz is in talks. Even if the rumour takeover happens, it takes us 3 seasons. Let's see. Oh yeah, you can't. Again, it's building blocks, isn't it? It's building blocks, and we need to do this regardless whether there is a takeover or there isn't. Is that where we are right now? We can't go and sign top 4 players. We can't get there. So we need to sign top 6. Do you know what I mean? We need to sign top 8, top 6 players, and then that takes us to the next level. And then Kudos is the level we need to be at. I think if we sign Kudos level players, we're increasing our level, which is what we need to do. Having players settled in early can be a difference. Yeah, 100%, 100 million%, especially at the start of the season, especially at the start when other teams are still getting themselves together and everything else. But we just don't make things easy for ourselves. And then to invest enough money against so far. Well, there's always an incentive to invest if you want to progress and you want to start winning trophies and you want to start doing this and you want to start doing that. It's just whether we have that in a drive to want to do it, and there doesn't seem to be that with our owners. That doesn't seem to be the case. For whatever reason, we just don't want to progress. We don't want to win the Champions League and the league, like Levy said. Right, let's have a look. We need to look at the likes. We need to see where the likes are at, guys. We need to. The target is 50. We are at 44 likes. Come on, guys, 6 more of you. 6 more likes, and then we'll be wrapping up. We will be wrapping up. Do you think anything in this Paqueta talk? I think the numbers are incorrect. I think the numbers are so incorrect. I think they'd want double what's being reported. But yes, I do think he's a player that could potentially leave. And would I take him? 100%. If we got a Paqueta through the door, a Grealish through the door, that's improving the level we were at for me. Why on earth did Levy say he wanted to win it? He didn't say when, Gary. He didn't say when. So he could be saying in 25 years' time, because by what's been served up so far in this transfer market, it's certainly not anytime soon. Who thought would be top in Edge's first season for how long? It was before the Chelsea. Yeah, there is that. There is that. We obviously that seemed to be a little bit of a one-off, but I think it's going to be very, very difficult. There are some real top sides. Not saying there weren't previously, but there are some top sides. We're always referred in the top 6. Now it's the top 4. Spurs may have to prove themselves back in the top conversation. I would add Villa into that, and I'd add Newcastle into that as well. I really would. I think they are, Newcastle especially, because if they get a foothold, I know they're just about to lose Isak, which is disastrous for them. But if they got a foothold and managed to maintain it, they could be an absolute powerhouse. Their midfield already at this moment in time is ridiculous. Like, their midfield is unbelievable. Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, ridiculous. They bring in a third there. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. 100% get what you're saying. And it's going to get harder and harder. Should be aiming for 5th or 6th in Europa. I think that's our level at the moment. If we make the required signings, I agree. I think that's where we should be. No pressure on Spurs to invest, like being winning leagues. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I completely get what you're saying. But if they want to keep progressing in terms of how much the club's valued at and how much the club's worth, then you do need to keep getting better, especially if Villa's, Newcastle's are getting better. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that if we get like top 6 next year, that could mean you're back in the Europa League. And then you've obviously got a chance at being able to then go back in and try and win that, which would be great. Who's going to win the league next year? I think I actually still before he came to City, Pep, I used to watch Spanish football religiously. I used to watch Barcelona religiously. So Guardiola is I think he's an absolute phenomenon, and I never ever don't back him. So, but Liverpool are looking strong, man. They are looking strong, and if they get Isak over the line, then them two are so high up. And then obviously the other lot, they've got their striker now. The pressure's on them, so he's another player I'd take at Spurs instantly, absolutely instantly. If he's available, go and get him. You probably don't even have the worry of the games, because this guy could play left, he could play central, he could play CDM. If he comes in the squad, there will be room for him to play no matter what, because he's a top player. I would take him in an instant. And again, just as we're wrapping up, guys, tomorrow night, 9:30 UK time, we've got Euro Expert coming on the channel. He's works for The Athletic. He does sensible transfers. He's all over YouTube. And we're going to be discussing different targets, where Spurs should be targeting, what the areas of weakness. And we'll be engaging with a chat. I want a list from the chat of players, and what we'll be doing towards the end of the stream. He will have already done his research of players that he will be bringing in, but then we will do a yes/no quick fire round sort of thing, where we literally go through the chat, and I've also got my own list, and we will just be saying a name to him, and we'll be saying like, is this a player Spurs should be looking at? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So that'll be cool. And Scalvini is a name that I will be bringing up. Look at that. This is what you like to see. Big up, Gary. Where are we now? Let's have a little look. We've hit one target. We've hit one target. I've got 48 here, so one of you have unliked if that's the case. So yeah, we're gonna have to have a row between whoever's unliked. I will find you, whoever you are. Oh, there we go. We're back up to 49. So we need one more like, and we've already hit 1.2k tonight for subscribers. Again, thank you very much. We're just gonna go through. Big up, Gary. Appreciate that, mate. We're gonna go through the last few things, and then we will be calling it a night at midnight. I wanted Ange to stay on just to, after a win, because it would keep momentum going into next season, given the changes they moved on that. I was big Anjin fan. I think that I thought he brought so much positivity to the team and to the squad and everything else. But I don't think, and I've said this before, I don't think either side are wrong in this conversation. Ange done some incredible things by winning the cup, but he also done some unthinkable things in terms of what happened. So I completely get both sides, and I don't think either side is wrong or right in this. And going back to like the criticism Frank's got in pre-season, he's got so much criticism from a lot of people that still wanted Ange in. But if Ange was still here, then the people that wanted him out would also be saying the same thing about Frank. Same thing about Ange. They'd be saying that he's not good enough, etc., etc. So I feel like this was always going to be a bit of a problem for the first few months of the season because the fans were so split. We could have had Frank as number 2 to Ange. He could have been. He wouldn't have come in as a 2. I don't think he would have come in as a 2, to be honest. I think your list is my list. Well, tune in tomorrow and you shall find out, my man. Big up, Paul. Good dream. Cheers, mate. Appreciate that. As I say, you guys, the support's just ridiculous. We've had like 30 odd people in here throughout the whole time. He took risks to win. Why was that a bad thing? Well, he took too many risks in my eyes. Ange out, peace out. Let's not get into the whole Ange and Ange out debate. I don't think Ange for Ireland player flaws would be good for development. No, but you need to do what's best for the club and for the players. At times he didn't do that, and as I say, I'm a big fan of Ange. I've actually got. Have I still got it? I've actually got this little sticker. There you go. There's an Ange in. And then we've also got this, which eventually, when I change the setup, we'll have this on display, the little Europa League trophy. So, guys, that's it. We're going to wrap up now. I was expecting to do maybe 45 minutes, something like that. We'll go for an hour and 40 minutes, but it's all fun and games. This is what Spurs does to us. We can sit there and talk Spurs for far longer than I should be able to. So, I'm going to say a massive thank you. As I said, like the support recently has just been absolutely ridiculous. We're at 50 likes on the video. We hit 1.2k subs. And if I'm not wrong as well, I think that memberships may be coming to the channel in the very near future. We need to hit a certain amount of guidelines and a certain amount of numbers. And we've hit them now. However, you have like 2 different versions of YouTube in the stat side. And one of them takes longer to process than the other. So on one of them, it's showing that we've hit all of them requirements, but the other one takes 5 days to push through with it. So hopefully in the coming days, we'll be able to put some memberships out. We'll have some super chats and that sort of stuff. So we are trying to expand. We are trying to get bigger and better. And hopefully by the amount of people that are constantly in the streams, then yeah, it's just such a blessing. Thank you very much. So yeah, everyone saying thank you. Peace out to everyone. Thank you all for coming in. And hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. UK time. Have a good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, because we've had people from all over the world today, which is absolutely incredible. So last thing from me, guys, as always, come on, you Spurs. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.